Welcome to my bedroom once again.
Thank you very much, friend.
Take two. So, what are we introducing? We're introducing our next episode with Anastasia Frenkel. And it's going to be all about chi.
Wonderful.
What is chi, Gimo? Do you have any idea?
We got Anastasia to answer that.
Yeah, clearly
don't put me on the spotlight.
Yeah. Chi's an interesting thing. It's a huge part of our practice. And it's kind of mysterious for a lot of people. Doesn't seem to make sense. But it's a real thing. It's like we treat it as like almost like a substance you build in the body. So we talk about how you build it, what we do with it in this practice, what you can use it for, how it transforms your body. Yeah. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, that when you say we talk about it, actually it's mostly Anastasia that does the talking. Yeah. She does it really fast. So if you feel like it, you can listen to the episode half speed and it still will be very difficult to follow because she's got this amazingly wide mind and she goes in all directions with chi and it's super amazing and interesting and demanding. So be ready.
Pay attention.
Yeah, pay attention.
Maybe don't drive. Sit down.
Exactly.
Pay attention.
No, it's going to be.
You had something you wanted to add about feedback, right?
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me what I want to do because we heard your feedback, people, and we loved it. It's been interesting, relevant, and we are going to take it into account. It's not going to happen right away because the first 4 episodes of the show we pre-recorded like a few months ago. So you'll see the results of your request, especially the ones about sound quality and that stuff, the jazz, starting from episode 5, I think.
5.
And that's it. We might go into detail about this a little more later, but that's all I wanted to say. And then also, I hope you enjoy my voice. I just used my neti pot. My nose feels.
Oh, the nasal passages, so sonorous.
It's like all echoes in the cavities of my nose, and the voice is coming out.
I'm not even going to have to EQ it at all. That's great. It's beautiful. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm Dan Etmacher.
I'm Girolamo Marri.
And this is Alchemy on
the Island. Motherfucker! Oh! Really an episode 3. Bye. There you go.
Alchemy. Join us on the show in the world on alchemy.
So before we dive into the very, very great topic we've got for tonight,
yes,
let's start.
Which I'm excited about, by the way.
It's great. So you are,
I am,
like us, a student,
yes,
but you're also a teacher.
yes,
And you're also our neighbor.
yes.
There are many hats.
I have so many hats.
Also our friend.
Ah,
But you came with a bodyguard.
I did.
All of this, right? Yes, is a little like that. Some might say you're wearing too many hats or too many clothes here. So we want to know more about who is or Anastasia. Even the name is ambiguous. Tell us more. Who are you? Tell us more. Why are you here on the island? What are you doing? Everything, basically.
That is
in a
an
nutshell.
incredibly frustratingly open-ended question.
Because I don't know how to do my, let's call it, job.
Right? Okay. We actually re-recorded the last episode because it was too open-ended.
Okay, so how about this? How about I'll help you. Ask me one question, and then we can start from there.
When?
1986.
Beautiful.
Born.
Okay.
Yes, there we go. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. But no, tell us a little bit about you and what brought you to all these beautiful arts and how your idea, so that our many listeners will know a little bit about you. And
oh wow.
A little background and then about some of your hats that you wear.
Okay.
Yeah. What color they are.
Yeah.
How they feel.
Because you do have a great wardrobe in general. I mean,
I do. I don't really actually wear hats in real life, but metaphorically, I have many of them. Yeah. Oh man, when did this all start for me? I think that's a really difficult question to answer because I think one of the first books I had on my shelf when I was a preteen was The Web That Has No Weaver. And I had that book, and I never actually read it. I would just open to random pages and find them super interesting and have no idea what they said. But I was super attached to the fact that I had this book on my shelf. I felt super, super cool.
Who's that book by?
Oh, I don't remember. Is it Patrick?
I
don't know, I'm going to embarrass myself here. I don't know who the book's by.
But
the
Demo quoted like talking about this web that has no weaver. I think was it him? Yeah, I think so. It was him like mentioning it like as a very interesting concept, like the title itself. Like
I mean,
and that's
the
all I know
concept's
about the book.
Yeah.
That
sounds very intriguing.
All right.
Have you neither of you read it?
No.
Okay.
Well, then,
all on the same ignorant page here.
Great. Well, I don't remember the author. You guys haven't read it. We're off to a great start with this book. Yes. Well, it's a good book. Still haven't read it cover to cover, but I've read many random pages and I've loved them. Glowing review. But yeah, I think, as a kid growing up, I was super, super, super cerebral, had no contact with my body. Like I didn't know when I was full even. I didn't know when to stop eating until my stomach hurt. I didn't work out. I hated running. I tried to avoid gym class as much as possible, which I think is really difficult for people to understand when they look at me now. The fact that was ever what I was like.
Because I remember once, like Dan, you were here at dinner or something, and Dan was like later commented, "Oh, I'm so impressed at how Anastasia is in touch with her body, and she knew exactly when to not accept sweet potatoes because she said that their body was not happy with sweet potatoes." And I said, "Yeah, that's very true. Anastasia knows what her body wants totally," while I was shoveling stuff.
Well, you knew what your body wanted, which was more.
Yes, exactly. More.
Yeah, no, that's a recent thing in terms of my life. Like the last third of my life, I think, has been like that. And yeah, I think, because I think one of the ways to start is I went to college after school because that was what I assumed that's what everybody did. And I hated the first year. Everyone told me everyone hates the first year, do the second year. Second year, even worse, complete depression, suicidal, hated my life. And I was like, I'm going to quit college. I don't know what else to do, but I know that this isn't it. Like, this cannot be what things are about. And that's when I started finding, I was like, all right, well, what is this yoga thing? What is this, Pilates thing? And what about running? What about all these things? And who am I? Like, what does my body do? What is my brain? Why am I sad all the time? Like, why do I hate being alive? At the same time, I found everything incredibly beautiful. Like, babies made me cry and animals made me cry, and like acts of kindness made me cry, but I still didn't want to be a part of it. And
Sounds
so I was
like
like,
you were getting curious though.
About
what was going on for you.
Yes, I was. I think I was because I was like, this sucks. Like, this can't be it. Right. This doesn't seem to be the way I should be living my life. And then, I just started going down this path and I was like, all right, well, this is interesting. And then, this, there has to be more to this. This can't be it. And I'd find like the next interesting thing that would teach me more and more and more. And I think my whole life, I've always been interested in how things worked, and so I'd always be super interested in a topic or a hobby or something until I could kind of more or less figure out how it worked. It didn't have to be perfect, but I'd have enough of an idea and then I'd just quit it because that'd be it. That would be what I wanted.
Satisfied.
I'd be satisfied. Exactly. And I think this was the first thing for me that I felt would never have an end. Like, I would never be satisfied. And that was new for me.
Right.
And super, super exciting.
I can relate to that. It's very true. Like, it feels like the more you learn, the more you feel, okay, I know very little proportionally to what
it keeps growing.
It keeps growing, the amount of stuff you learn, and it keeps getting more and more interesting because you have more and more. It's almost like the landscape, let's say the landscape inside you becomes like more and more rich and in detail and in things and more open spaces and more stuff to explore. Imagine when I will have opened my qua.
Imagine when any of us will have opened our qua.
Great Valley of the Qua.
Yes. Fantastic.
Beautiful. So you came to this art because you were looking for something that had no glass ceiling.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess in a way. Yeah, and I didn't realize that's what I was looking for, and I still don't know if that is what I'm looking for. And then there's the other aspect to that story too, that because of the various things that happened in my family, my uncle helped this Chinese healer man move to the US from China, who I met when I was 9, and he became my, I guess, doctor I don't know. I would get
Yeah.
treatments from when I was 11 because I was very sick.
Yeah.
And then I just kept seeing him. So like, it's not that I discovered these arts when I was in my 20s or late teens. I almost recircled back to them because they'd always been an underlying
They
theme
were
of my
around.
life. I just
Yeah.
didn't necessarily realize them as such.
Yeah, I'm very similar.
Yeah.
Because you're also like a Chinese medicine practitioner, I forgot to mention.
The
I know.
other hat.
Yeah, one more hat. We'll keep discovering hats. There's more.
There's a lot of room for hats in your cupboard.
Yeah, it's like a Mary Poppins bag of hats.
You're a bit of a Mary Poppins kind of character now that I think about it, like always smiling and cheerful with lots of solutions for things. And
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
It's always nice hearing how other people see me.
I don't, but like I actually didn't like Mary Poppins when I was a kid. But,
Okay, well,
but
you like her now?
Yeah,
Now, how do you
now
feel
I think
about her
she's great.
now?
Now I think she's great.
Okay,
But when I
great,
was a kid, like
So I do have a bodyguard with me right now, so.
That's a good point, sorry. Because when I was a kid, I kept thinking, like, this is an obnoxious, like, she's always cheerful, because I was a bit like, I could get mad and annoyed pretty easily, and I thought, like, she would come with a smile and try to fix it, and I would hate it. Right? Like, that's what I was thinking, but, like, now, I was
Well, I think, I obviously did not know Mary Poppins personally, being as she is a fictional character and before my time. They say, supposedly. But I was actually talking to a friend about this last night on the phone about how...
Mary Poppins.
about Mary Poppins, no.
Oh, perfect.
Mary Poppins adjacent
Top.
conversation. Yeah, it's about how, you can be always smiling and kind. And so people assume you always feel that way inside, but it's a choice. Like I get angry and I get sad.
I saw it one time.
Oh,
Did
that
you?
was
I saw it came
beautiful.
out.
Oh, did you? I don't remember. What
It
was
was
this?
delicious.
Oh, really?
There were people like sort of sparring. in the hall.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
And they were getting a little out of hand.
Oh,
And you shut them down.
yes, yes.
Which is what
that-
everyone else wanted to do in that moment.
And that was beautiful. And this was like like one of the highest peaks I've ever witnessed in the noble art, the gentle art of restricting someone's penis. like these three guys, big guys, and you were like, no, enough, stop, and you just whoop, and just quite it was amazing.
Well, funnily enough, that wasn't even me angry. That was just
No,
me
yeah,
having had enough.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like these things
Yeah,
that
you
you
looked
have
in
all these.
control. You looked in control.
Oh, well, they
Yeah.
probably felt that too.
Yeah. It's beautiful, man. It was beautiful.
I'm so glad you guys have such a fond memory of my time here in Bali.
We were talking about it.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm glad to have created such a memory.
Okay, so how did because I'm cunningly transitioning to the topic of one of the topics of the.
I can
of
barely
the-
tell it's so cunning.
Yeah, how did you approaching this whole new old world of things change your life? How did it start affecting your life? What were the first signs that you started noticing? Oh, this is changing as I do this. This is different. This is good. I want to do. Oh, this is worse.
I guess, the easiest thing is not even to start at the beginning for me because that feels so long ago. I think maybe the easiest thing for me to recall would be more recent changes about how it's changing my life. The biggest one that comes to mind at first, which is, I guess maybe not even the easiest one to talk about, is, my mom and I have always had a difficult relationship, very challenging. And going home for me was always a very difficult thing to do. And so this most recent time I was at home, and for me, it's always been a touchstone of can I be back in this environment, which is one of the most triggering, fraught environments for me? And how is it that I respond? You know what I mean? How much of my cultivation and my training can be present in that moment where I'm not just constantly reacting to all of these things around me? And I think coming back continuously to that and just seeing how much my ability to stay present and non-reactive, or even if I have reacted, just bouncing back to center quickly. Yeah. Even if I've bounced off, just coming back, having that, we talk about the dantian being, this magnet that even when the chi moves in the body, it comes back.
Right.
As opposed to the chi moving and then it just is everywhere.
Straight to
It's
the brain
chaotic.
and then out.
Exactly, or just up and up, or just wherever, But the fact that it can move, I still move from center, I get sad, I get angry, I get all these things. I'm human and the world is chaotic. But the fact that as soon as that moment is done, I come back. And that for me has been such like a blessing and a boon, like not just for my life, but obviously thankfully for the lives of the people around me, because I'm just a nicer, easier person to be around.
That's fantastic.
I feel like that really is a great segue into our main topic.
You're welcome.
Because we figured we would ask you, because you are a Chinese medicine practitioner, you're a student and a teacher in this lineage. And one of the primary things we work with, especially in the beginning, but throughout, is qi. And I think people have some idea of what qi is, or at least a concept, but at least what I've discovered is the more I directly relate to it, the more I realize my concepts were.
But let's talk for people who don't have a single idea,
Right.
any idea of it.
Yeah.
Because like your people might have a big idea, but a lot of my people like.
But at least most people at least heard the word, I feel like. Most people I've talked to. Not so much in Italy.
Yeah,
Not so much
it's
in
not
Italy.
big.
All right, we come from different places.
Not big in Italy.
We come from different places.
How do you say that word in Italian?
Yeah.
Chio.
Gio.
No, it's not true.
Oh.
I don't think there's no word. Like there's no translate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning, if
Sure.
you don't mind. Like in your understanding and also experience, what is qi? And it's a very large question.
It is a very large question. I think I will take a moment to hesitate here to answer, because I think, like so many of these words, the answer is contextual, at least for me. It is contextual based off of how, for me, it's been contextual based off of how long I've been training. Obviously the answer, how you said, how you understand it changes, but also contextually based off of what you're doing. So like, I understand qi differently in a way when I'm doing Chinese medicine than when I'm personally training.
Yeah.
And so the way that I understand it now, and this understanding will obviously, I know, change. So I might listen to this in 5 years and be like, what was she saying? But the way that I understand it now, I think my bodyguard can sing music. I'm gonna, I guess, talk this out. It is a vehicle for change for me right now in the way that I understand it, right? It is something that animates, it is something that creates, that holds form. It has all of these different things based on the quality that qi has, whether we're talking about, I guess, in practice, we talk about yin qi and yang qi, and they have different functions. But at the end of the day, all of it is part of what creates you and animates you.
So it's an animating force.
It's an animating force. Yeah, and I guess, creative force.
A creative force, yeah.
And so the way that you interact with that can be different in the way that it interacts with what it's doing based off of, I guess, what it is going to be different.
Yeah.
And so it is one of those things that I can understand contextually, and that could be still because my understanding of it is still not fully complete. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's sometimes also, it is such a big word, and I think it's sometimes important to understand it contextually in order to help yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe trying to define it like generally could actually not be sufficient. You have to stick to each
and I think
context,
a definition of something is less important than understanding what it does.
Can you give us some example of what is qi in a specific context?
And maybe let's start with like the beginner cultivator. Like, how might they start to encounter qi, or how did you start to encounter qi?
Yeah, well, I think I'll talk about myself, obviously, because I think everybody has different experiences of things. And they might go through a slightly different process. I think for me, and maybe for most people, the first way you start to encounter qi is with how it interacts with your body. I think the only way that we experience something is with our body. We have no other way of experiencing something. It's just not possible, right? That is, we have a nervous system. It is the only way we experience something. So the first way you're going to experience that is through your body. Like we talk about, it's can be electricity, or feel like electricity, or feel like magnetism within your body because of what it does to the tissues, because of what it does to the nerves, because of what it does to the form that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And so I think at its basic level, that is how you first start to interact with it. And I think for me, I kind of think of it as like the metaphor, like when you look at a forest, right, and you can't feel the wind, but you see the wind moving the trees, right? And so the qi is the wind, and we can't like we can't feel it in the beginning, right? What we're feeling isn't chi, but we're feeling its effects. So you see how it's moving the trees. So you know which way the chi is moving because the trees are going this way, or the branches are going this way, or they're shaking really fast, or they're not shaking at all, or slumping down, or standing up.
Yeah.
But you're not feeling the wind. You know what I mean? You don't see the wind, but you see how it's affecting the trees. And that's kind of what happens for you first in your body is you don't feel the chi, the same way you can't see the wind. But you can see what it's affecting, which is the trees. You can feel what it's affecting, which is your physicality.
Yeah, tissues.
The tissues.
In a way, it's force, an energy, a substance, something that is there. It's not like a metaphor for something else. It's not like it's not your breath. It's not like your. It's something
not
in
a
itself,
metaphor, which
right?
is one of the things that for me was super, super cool is that, you grow up and you reading this word, and all I really encountered before, really before starting with LNG even, I think even a lot of the teachers in the US that, I'd seen before that, they still kind of consider a metaphoric thing, and they still teach, even though they say chi is real, they still kind of teach it. You can tell almost with the underlying belief that it is a metaphor.
Right.
And it's so interesting when you first encounter it, you're like, oh, it's not a metaphor.
Right.
It is an actual thing.
Yes.
And I think that really you have to change your paradigm in order to start to relate to it in that way.
Because like you kind of cannot accept that it is a thing until you're able to experience it, I think, in a way, or experience its effects. And in order to experience its effect, it takes a little bit of time. It's not like the thing that you can do, like you can go to someone and say, no, chi is real. Like you do this and you will feel it.
Well, so like, why should you? Why should you believe it without having experienced it?
Right.
Like that for me is, I think that's one of the reasons I really, really love these arts is that it gives you something physical to experience. It makes it yours. You don't have to believe someone else, and you don't have to put your faith blindly in these things that someone's just telling you. This is real, believe me.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's given to you. You have your body, it is yours, you are working with it, and then you can do this art within your body where you get to feel these things manifest within you and work with them in a way that no one can take away from you. And no one, interestingly enough, no one can give you either. Like they can help you with practices, and sometimes a teacher can help in other ways, but they can't give it to you, but also they can't take it away.
Yeah, it's yours.
That's yours. And that for me was so incredibly freeing, and I know it's kind of deviates away from our topic of chi, but,
keep going.
But but it's yours. And I think that's something that's so important to remember is we have so few things in life that feel ours.
Yeah.
Right.
In that way where you can be autonomous. Like it doesn't matter whether we're here in Bali right now. It doesn't matter whether you're in Bali or New York or Istanbul or in Alaska. You can sit and you can practice because that's all you need. You are with yourself at all times, which means you are constantly working on that. Which means coming back, like your relationship to your body, which means your relationship to chi, and then thus your relationship to everything else in the world, which is also based off of that, continues to evolve. And it can just be a thing that you do for the rest of your life, which is for me super, super exciting.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, sometimes like the fact that it's in a way bluntly mechanical is beautiful. Like you think I have a tank that I can fill with this thing, with this chi, and actually it's a real tank and it's a real substance and it's in me and I can play with it. And the more I put, the more I can do other things with it. And then I can invest this amount of chi to do this particular action and this other thing to change this other thing. And it's affecting this and that. Like, it seems almost simplistic because we tend to we have these very distant ideas and exotic ideas of energy and things. Like we want it to be mystical, how to say, esoteric, in all ways, in all possible ways. And as soon as someone says, no, it's actually, as simple as you spending 3 hours and gaining this amount of chi by doing those 3 hours, like you get, okay, it seems to lose a little bit of poetry, but actually not. Actually, it's much better. It doesn't. Much better.
And I think one of the
tangible. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I think one of the there's 2 points there that I really like that you made is that we think about things that if they're mechanical, they're no longer magical, which I disagree with. We think that once something's been explained, it's no longer magical. But sometimes for me, that makes it more magical. Like, look at this amazing system that exists, that works, that you can interact with. And that, and then you said about, us wanting things to be esoteric and whatever. And I actually think in a weird way that's, just in my opinion, that's sometimes a human drive. I don't know if it's generally a human drive or independent people's, but the desire to not have to take responsibility for one's own cultivation. Because as long as it's esoteric, as long as it's something outside of yourself or outside of something mechanical that you can do, that means you're not really responsible for it. That means some other esoteric thing or some other person that has access to it, has to do that, or if it's, that's why I think and those kinds of ideas, I think, really attract people and are attractive to people that want to give their power over to somebody, in a way like this person will do it for me, or this person has access to this thing that I don't have, like an intermediary. Right. I think it's a little bit scary sometimes for people to lose that intermediary, where it's like, no, it's you and the thing. Like someone kind of can tell you how to interact with that thing,
and give you guidance.
We can talk about like chi. So on a basic level, how to interact with chi in your own body, but then that takes you into higher or deeper things, which is still just a you and that thing relationship.
Yeah, very direct.
Very direct. And that can be scary, because if it's just doing that thing, you can fail. If you don't make it, that's on you, and as long as it's somebody else, as long as it's an esoteric thing, or as long as there's like an intermediary, whether that be a priest or a shaman or whatever, then you're absolved of responsibility, and I think that there's, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just thought it was an interesting point.
I think you're saying that this is a Protestant art, where you're direct.
I'm so bad with all of those terms that I can agree with you and have no idea what I'm agreeing to.
Like anti-Catholic, like of chi. Oh, I see where you're going with this. Yeah, interesting. I'll talk to the Pope.
Yeah, please, on my behalf, thanks.
But you mentioned a few sentences ago, like a relationship between the chi and the body. Can you talk a little bit about chi and the body, chi and the mind and the body, this triangle of things? Because, like, as far as I understand, like, we're talking often of chi as a bridge between the mind and the body, which is an interesting concept, an interface. Can you elaborate and turn it into beautiful sentences? Like
sure, I'll try. Yeah, you asked me this question because it's so open-ended. My brain has like 12 things it wants to say at once, and then I have to figure out which one of them is the one to start with. So I guess I think on like a very basic level, I think all humans understand this without realizing they understand it. Because it's like when you look at someone that walks around with like a sunken chest and their head kind of down, and I'm definitely making a posture here that all the listeners in the podcast can't see.
Yes.
So we try and describe it.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, thanks. You don't look at them and you think, oh, that person has a lot of energy and they're really happy. Like you already kind of, even if you can't pinpoint the specifics of why they're feeling like, you already kind of know that they're low energy, they're not feeling great. Just take that to the next level of you kind of know what their chi is doing. Right. It's, and I think it just, so even on that kind of a level, we as humans already kind of know that someone's mental state and someone's emotional state relates to their energy levels, relates to how their body posture is, how they walk. We already read that without really knowing we're reading it. And I think the more you start training this, the more you start acknowledging that link, and the more it starts to be a conscious understanding, something that I think we do already on a certain basis with one another. And so that idea between mind, body, and chi, I think we all inherently understand it without realizing that's what we're understanding. And then once you start, delving more into these arts and starting to, for yourself, for example, you build chi, which on a very fundamental level, right, you're building energy, which, okay, what does energy do? It feeds something. If you just think about you putting more energy to a system, it just feeds what that system is, right? So whatever that system is, let's say, is your mind, okay? So whatever your mind is, it just makes it more so, And so it's like if I have an engine and I'm putting a little bit of energy into it, great. It's doing a certain thing. I put more into it. It doesn't necessarily change what that mechanism does. It just makes it do more of it. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. And so I think in that case, it just makes you more you, which then if you take that to the next level of cultivation, what that does is it highlights to you, if you're willing to look at it, who you are.
Okay.
And then you get to make the choice. Do I like this or do I not like this? What about this do I want to change?
Right.
You know, and so when you have more chi, it does that to the mind, but also to the body. You know, it makes your body more of what it is. So like if you have a lot of tightness or something, it is going to it's going to show you where that is. You know, and then it's, you know, there's this concept which, you know, depending on, you know, how much someone understands, you know, called sung, you know, like that concept of release, you know, that's kind of that choice that you have when there's, you know, all that chi in your system, and, you know, you can see it in people when their bodies are closed and they start building some chi and it starts moving. You know, if they have tightnesses, you can see them, right? Because it's just really amplifying them. It's highlighting them because the chi is kind of moving anywhere but that one area. It's like, that area's tight. You see it, right? But you wouldn't be able to see it if there wasn't that much energy in the system.
Yeah.
I mean, you could if you know what you're looking for, but maybe it wouldn't be that evident to that person. Maybe it wouldn't be that evident to the people around them. But all of a sudden you're like, oh, here's this thing. And then you have the choice. You know, do you open that area up, right? Do you sung to help create space? Do you actively open the area, you know, just with like with stretching and opening the joints and all of this to change? And so, you know, like you were saying, it's, you know, that bridge. So I think there's so many ways you can interpret that bridge, but that's just one way, right? Is that it highlights those things, which, but it doesn't necessarily change them, you know, like it can, if you have such high degrees of chi that it just kind of blasts everything open, I'm sure, but it can also drive you crazy, right?
Right. I mean, like what you're saying is that like if you're a lunatic or like you're prone to anger or something, like you pump yourself with chi, you're gonna be more angry, right? Like more easily, like, and
or at least it'll be on the surface more.
It'll be, it'll push it out to the surface. It'll fuel that which is you, and
it'll highlight it to you know, because it makes you more you. And I think going back to that thing you were, you know, one of us were talking about a moment ago in regards to, not even remember. Japan?
I think it was Japan.
I don't think we've talked about Japan for weeks, Jared.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, no, I've forgotten. So hopefully we'll circle back. Hopefully that wasn't the most important point of the podcast.
There's a lot to cover.
She went in another direction.
It did.
But I think like this.
I remembered.
Good. Thank
you.
God, because I was just going to freestyle shit.
About the personal responsibility thing, you know, is that if you think of chi as this like esoteric whatever, then when it starts to build and you start to become, let's say, more angry if you're angry, or more sad if you were sad, or your body starts to feel worse because all this chi is being created but you're not opening, then it's going to mess you up. I don't know if I can curse on here.
Yes, you can.
Okay, it's going to fuck you up.
There we go.
You know, because you haven't taken that step to be like, oh, this is mechanistic. I'm responsible for this. And taken that next step of being like, I have to do the work. Yeah. So if my body's closed, I have to open the body. I can't just be like, oh, the chi's going to move around and do it. It'll do some of it. Yeah, but you are active participant in that process because it's you that is changing.
Right.
You know, which is why in the beginning, I think I said, for me, it is also like an avenue. It's a vehicle for change. I think that's why I consider it as that, because for me, you know, everybody's practice focuses on something different. Everybody has a different thing that they're working towards, or different thing that brought them to these arts. And I think for where I'm at personally right now, it's just been a really lovely vehicle for change because it points out to me all the places where I suck.
Yeah.
You know, because I want to
things
suck
are tight
less.
or out of balance.
Or that like, oh, actually, I have this part of my character that I don't like because whenever I have a bit more chi, it comes out, and I can blame that on whatever. You know, like there's definitely been moments over the past couple of years where I've been like grumpier with people, or I've just part of me has just been like about something. And if I'm not always aware enough of being like, this is the process, I'm part of the process, blah, 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 then it's really easy to externalize those things on other people. Yeah. Instead of being like, no, I'm building chi, I'm making myself more me, and it's just showing me the parts of me that suck.
Right. So there's a very important mindset.
There's a very important mindset.
Like.
Yeah, which is that mindset of like self-responsibility. You know, and that the chi, yes, it does a thing, but the chi is still just you. Like it's not something outside of you. Right. Like you're working within your body. It's like saying, it's like saying like your liver isn't you. Like it is. Like your chi is within your body. It is you. You're cultivating it. It's not like I'm cultivating your chi. You know,
nice.
Yeah. Or I would if I could, Dan. I would if I could. Or Jiro's chi. You know, when I'm cultivating chi, it's mine, which means it's also going to be having an effect on me and me on it. And even saying that feels weird because there's no separation.
Right.
by cultivating the chi and by building the chi, I'm building myself. So like, what am I building?
I think that's what a lot of people maybe don't at first expect when they encounter these arts, right? Maybe they come to the arts because they want to heal themselves in some way, or they want certain things to get better, and then they find that actually we're highlighting the things that aren't working in an even greater degree, and also giving you tools to work with those. But it's a big project.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, which is why. I almost feel bad saying this, which is why it's like it's not for everybody. Yeah. And it's not even like a weird. Sometimes you say that and people think that it's like hierarchical, like you think it's not for everybody,
Only
and it makes one
survive.
and it makes like one thing better than the other. But like no, I even thought for myself like, if I one day wake up and I'm like, this isn't for me anymore, I'm gonna go like herd goats and adopt children and broken animals, and I don't necessarily think that makes me any like less important or less valid as a person. So at the end of the day, for me, these arts are about, can it make me a better person out in the world? Can I get rid of those parts of me that suck? And for me right now, this is a tool for that. Chi is a tool for that. Yeah. For myself. And so I've definitely had moments before. It's like, okay, if I'm doing these practices and I'm looking out at how I'm treating people and I'm treating myself, and I'm interacting with the world, if that isn't getting better, then I'm either doing something really wrong and I have to look at my practice, or B, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I need something else first.
Yeah, or supplemental.
That is going to make this work for me, because if it's not making me better, then what's the point?
Totally.
Not better for me, but just a nicer human. Yeah. A better human. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's a nice breath, Gimo. I did have a question I wanted to bring it back.
Yeah.
It seemed like you had a thing and then you didn't have a thing. So now I have a thing. Okay, great. I interpreted it correctly.
Just about the cathartic side.
I was just moved by the whole speech. So I wanted to say you are a better person. Cool.
So I think one of the ways I describe our teacher is a spiritual pragmatist. It's just language that I relate to personally. Because everything feels very practical. It's like, how can you actually use these practices and things to grow in the world and change who you are? I love it. I am at heart a pragmatist as well. Yeah. Which sometimes Gimo can get a little cranky at, but that's okay.
It's absolutely not true.
You're a dreamer,
Definitely not a dreamer.
I definitely think people would guess the opposite when they would first meet you.
Yeah.
Dan's the dreamer and Jiro's the pragmatist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There you go. Keep talking.
Anyways, my pragmatic question is, so when you encounter chi in the beginning, it's interacting with your body, right? So how do we build chi in the system, and where is it coming from?
Oh my God, Dan, easy questions.
Yeah. In a nutshell.
They're not that easy. So let me see. How do we build chi? Oh, okay. Well,
it's technical question, like for your little exam.
Yeah, for my little thing.
I think it's more for beginners, right?
Yeah.
Because there's lots of ways that it evolves.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. So great. That's a wonderful preamble. Is that there's lots of ways this evolves. Like the understanding of this will evolve and how it works will evolve.
Yes.
But I think for beginners, if we're going off like the beginning, just simplistic theory that chi is, let's say, energy, right? Yang chi, the kind of chi that you're going to encounter in the beginning is like electricity in the body, right?
Yang chi is electrical.
Yeah, and that's the first thing you're going to encounter. Right, so how to build that? First, I think it's important to almost answer the opposite question, is how to lose it. Okay. You know what I mean? Because you obviously already have a bit of it in your body or else you'd be dead. Right. Okay, like it is an animating force, right?
We all have some amount of chi.
You all have some, or else you would be dead, right? And so, first of all, I think it's important to say, how people already have a lot more chi than they realize because they're just losing a bunch of it.
It's leaking out.
All the time, yes. So it's like, if you think about it, all right, so when do you feel most tired? After you've been stressed. Obviously not when you're stressed necessarily because your adrenaline's kind of working, right? So after you've been stressed, you're tired. Yeah. After an emotional episode, you're tired, right? After thinking a lot, you're tired. After working a lot, you're tired. Right. Okay, so all of these things, obviously very human experiences,
Yep.
all of them.
Energy output.
Energy output, but we don't output efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So let's say something happens and you have let's say you have just insulted me, right? You said something horrible about me or my mother or my dog,
Get the bodyguard.
Face.
my face.
Yeah.
I'm actually now really want to know something that you would say about my face. Let's say you said something insulting, it doesn't matter what, and I got upset.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, some energy output, because having an emotion is very activating, right? There's some output there that happens, which is natural, it's fine. You say a thing, there's a little output. But the problem is when I keep then having that emotional reaction, like you have maybe said this 2 hours ago, and I'm still emotionally reacting to it, which means that is now constantly outputting for those 2 hours.
Sounds inefficient.
It's very inefficient, right? Or someone said something and I'm like, oh no. And then instead of just being confused temporarily and then leaving it alone, I'm ruminating on it. I'm thinking, right? Brain has just uses up an amazing amount of your energy, right?
It really does. That's a scientific fact.
Yeah, exactly. So even if we go completely non-esoteric, it is a scientific fact, right? So, and then you just keep ruminating, overthinking. Oh no, was I an idiot when I went out to dinner last night? They probably think I'm stupid. I shouldn't have said that. Oh my God, why did I wear that stupid shirt? Or whatever. Wasting an incredible amount of energy, wasting an incredible amount of chi, right? Also, stress. Something happened. Someone cut me off, right? The minimal reaction, stress, whatever. But then I'm still stressed about it for the rest of the hour-long ride. About this thing that, oh my God, this thing that happened, which then you can layer on even other things, and you go home and you retell the story, and you reactivate that emotional response, and then you're thinking about what would have happened if I'd gotten hit, and then you've got the ruminating bit of it. And then next thing you know, you're exhausted. You're like, I don't understand why I'm so tired. So you know how much chi you've just wasted. Just overthinking and over responding to something that isn't happening anymore.
Gimo likes to stress about that.
About stressing about how much he's stressing.
Yeah, stressing about how much he's stressing, about how much chi he's losing when he's stressing. Yeah.
It's very true.
It's a great cycle.
Hopefully you start stressing so much it loops back around and then you stop stressing. Is that the hope? They just push it to
now
its
I'm
bound.
not understanding this, and I will stress about it.
I won't push it any further. So that's at its, in the beginning when we, start quote unquote building chi in the practice, a lot of what we work on is actually stopping those inefficiencies. And so in the beginning, a lot of people feel like, oh my God, I have so much energy, I'm building chi. It's like, oh, you're not quite building yet, you're just becoming more efficient.
Plug in the leaks.
You're plugging the leaks so that all the stuff that you did have is no longer just being wasted. Also on bodily inefficiency, if you think about, one of the things I personally, found super interesting, even years ago before I was neigong, is the fact that we take gravity for granted.
Sure.
But gravity is always working on your body. It's always a force down, which we're always fighting. We're always working against it, which does take energy, right? And if your body is put together inefficiently, all that gravity load is going into all these inefficient points in your body, which require more effort for you to stand upright, for you to do a thing, right? Versus just opening your body and working so that gravity pulls through your tissues in an even fashion. All of a sudden, wow, it's not as hard to walk, it's not as hard to move around, it's not as hard to do anything. You're going to feel like I have so much more energy. You haven't built it, you've just stopped wasting it on fighting gravity in all these inefficient ways. So there you go, there's the foundational practice already. So what do we do when we start practicing? Open the body. Hang the flesh off the bones, right? So you kind of get all the tissues to start to create this wetsuit where they're all, in theory, you're trying to get gravity to pull on everything evenly, right? To rework all of those, right? All those tissue attachments, all that, the web of tissue through your body, right? So when gravity pulls, it's pulling evenly.
Right. It also teaches you how to let go of all the hidden tension you got in there.
Exactly. Yeah. Which also inefficient, right? You don't realize all those little places you're holding tension, you're having to hold tension, which is hard. It's try holding a fist for hours on end, right? It's you can see that, but you're doing that inside your body and inside your mind almost constantly on all of these, conscious, subconscious, unconscious levels. And so letting go of even all of those things, even if you don't get to the point of building already, if you could get rid of all of that, my God, you'd have so much more chi without even having to actively build.
Right. So the normal production of chi.
Normal production is already, people are so inefficient with even their normal production that that even if you get people to baseline there, they're just going to be so much more functional. Like for most people, that's even enough. They won't even have to deal with the building chi part. Like it's already gonna, like they're gonna have so much more to go do whatever they want to do. And for a lot of people, that's enough.
Right.
And that's great. Go live your life. Go have fun. Like do like you have an efficient body. Go like ski. Go
enjoy it.
Climb trees. Like do whatever you want to do with it. So like just back to foundational practices. And you're kind of talking about like in the beginning, how do we build chi? Like that's why in classes when we're like open the body, open the joints, hang the flesh off the bones. We work on all these alignments. We open the quad, like all of these things that's just like over and over and over again, which can get so annoying and feel so repetitive. But if you take a look at this idea, like you get those things, it's like you're getting rid of all of those inefficiencies. It's like, yes, don't believe your mind, try and quiet your emotions, all of these. It doesn't mean not have emotions. Like I'm a very feeling person, I have a lot of love in me for lots of things and I feel things deeply, but when you're doing the practice, like that's not the time for it. You're trying to get your body to this place of, I guess, more or less neutrality, which is another I guess loaded word for some people, but so that all these little inefficiencies aren't constantly taking your chi. It feels so weird. They're not taking it anyway, just you using it up by being inefficient. And so then all the chi that you already have in your body, ta-da, then it's there. It's not just being wasted on all these things that you don't even realize you're doing.
Okay, so more available.
More available. So that, for a lot of people, is like, first layers of building chi. It's like, not quite yet, but it feels that way. You know what I mean? Which is like, that's the first several years of practice already there.
So interesting. Interesting, super interesting. Go on.
That
was a great comment,
Yeah, because I don't have any questions to ask. Like she speaks super well and super fast. Like I cannot keep up. Like I just want to listen.
Can I speak slower?
No. I just want to listen. Like I'm just curious. Go on.
So that's the beginning things. That's why, even if it's boring, I know sometimes it could be boring for students. We're like, no, it's going to spend all week opening the body. It's like, when do we get to the cool stuff? And it's like, you don't understand. I mean, for me, and I'm kind of a nerd this way, I guess, that is the cool stuff. Like, for me, it's like, if you can open the body and really use the right mental qualities that you need to opening the body, then, like, you can use those mental qualities to deal with any of the deeper layers. You know what I mean? It's
they're useful on lots of levels.
Yeah, it's like, it's all about, like, you have like we talked about in the beginning, right? Body, chi, mind, right? All aspects of you. So you can't talk about one without talking about the other. We talk about them separately because we need that as a mental framework, but they're not. It's like, how do I separate different parts of Dan? It's like, obviously what your liver is doing is affecting your stomach, it's affecting your everything else, but we talk about them separately. We can see they're not, right? They're still just you.
Very connected.
Yeah, it's just one Dan,
Just one Dan.
Just one Dan. And so, how can you want to skip the body opening part? It's still just you. You can't open the body. The rest of you is not opening up either. Like what hope do you have there? And so, I lost my train of thought, but I'm sure it was good. It was going somewhere great. We'll never know.
This is the beginning of somewhere great.
Yes.
Okay, you got
I remembered. We've got it at the beginning, right? So opening the body, right? Trying to not believe your mind doesn't mean shut your mind up. You have a mind. It's part of you. You can't, unless I lobotomize you, right? Which is not going to be too useful for your practice, I don't imagine. You have a mind, but it's just like, like when you're practicing, it's not like starting to know what tools are useful for what. And also something that I, really like to start to see is like every part of you working towards the same goal. Do you know what I mean? Aligning. So like if I'm working on opening my body, for example, like it wouldn't make sense for me to be like reaching my arms really far to try and open up the joints in my arms, but then being really tight with my mind so my chi is coming in. Like, do you see, like one thing's going out, and like we do that all the time with our desires and our thoughts and the things that we want. We don't even realize we're doing it. And so like that's another point of inefficiency in the practice. You're constantly pulling in all these little directions.
Yeah.
And so the more you start to know yourself, which once again, going back to building the chi shows you who you are, the more you see all the different directions you're pulling and you start to change those, those start to pull more in the same direction. So if you have a dozen horses, they're not pulling in a dozen directions. The more of your horses are pulling in the same direction, the faster the cart's going to go.
Right.
Yeah.
The cart, now we're going with this metaphor, fuck it, let's just go for it. The cart is your body. So if you have a wonky wheel and like a fucked up axle, even if the horses are going really fast in the right direction, you're not going to be going there very well because your cart's messed up, right? So fix your body, fix the cart, get all your horses going in one direction, and then make them go fucking fast by building chi.
Aha.
You know, so
Supercharged.
Jackson the other day when we interviewed was talking about integrity, like this concept of having like your body. He was using like I think body, mind, and heart. This was going the same direction, and how that is his main focus at the moment, and how that really changes like your practice and changes everything. Once you get this alignment, like things start running more smoothly, like so easily, relatively easily.
Way more efficient.
Efficiently.
Yeah, because it's like otherwise, like all those things are you, and if they're all pulling in different directions, you know, I mean, just they're all pulling in different directions.
Yeah, efficiency is a big term that we use.
We use it a lot.
In this practice, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to be more efficient, and definitely, like if you're going to a different direction, it's not exactly efficient.
No, and I think we do that on so many different levels, right? Because we have all these different layers of who we are. Not all of them are known to us. And that's one of the things that I think building more chi does, is it helps you start to make more of those things known to you. You know, it's like when, even like just in, you know, the level of the body, right? Because I think the easiest way for people to understand it, and that's why I love that it is an art that works through your body, because there's no room for error. Like if your shoulder's not in the right place, your shoulder's not in the right place. There's no, you can't be like, no, but it is. It's like, no, it's not.
So versus working with the mind.
Versus working with the mind.
Much more hard to pin down.
It is, yeah. And so but also we said before, they're not separate, you know? So you work with the body, 'cause it's so easy and it's so much less prone to delusion. Still, it can be a little deluded with your body, you know?
Sure.
So you build the chi, and so you're like, oh, as the chi starts to fill, you're like, oh, it doesn't fill these layers. And you build more, so it goes deeper in the body. You're like, oh, it actually doesn't fill those deeper layers, you know? So that's where, even on a body level, building more chi and becoming more efficient helps you gain a deeper knowledge of yourself, even on a physical level, you know? And so then that same thing starts to happen in all the other levels. I think it's so much easier to see on the body level. And so I think it's easiest to develop all of these like mental and, I mean, almost emotional skills. I don't know if you can call them an emotional skill, but your ability to react or not react or be neutral, you know, or to things is so much easier on the body because you have such a very clear feedback.
It's fairly honest.
It's just very, very honest, you know? And I think in one of those, like, you can want to hide. The only way you can hide from that is just to stop practicing.
Sure.
You know? Which I've definitely gone through periods of my life where I've just been not for a bit.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, I'm like, looking back, it's because for whatever reason, it was a bit too much for me at the time. I didn't want to have to deal with whatever part of the, you know, I was just like, and I would just ignore it for a while and not even know that I was ignoring it until I came back to it 2 weeks. I was like, oh, I was definitely avoiding.
Yeah, sometimes I go like, enough learning for a moment. I'm fine. I want to stay stupid for a bit. Like, leave me alone. I'm okay. And then you get back, re-engage a little later. But this is what's saying, like what you're saying about the body is also like one, I think, good reason to do all the adjacent, thank you very much, practices we do as well, like not just neigong, but the more physical things we do, like the internal and even external martial arts and all of these things are very helpful to get more in connection with where the limits of your feeling are, with the chi, where your blockages are.
Totally. Yeah, I think also because they kind of show you, you have all these different ways that you express yourself with your mind, and I think there's so many different ways that your body expresses itself. And they all have to do with different mind states. You know, obviously the way that you are when you're dancing is different the way you are when you're punching something, which is different the way you are when you're doing a core exercise, which is different than when you're doing Tai Chi, you know? And feeling your body in all of these different ways also gives you feedback to yourself and where you are not comfortable, you know, like where you are or are not self-reflective or self-knowledgeable, you know, or any of these things. You know, personally for me, you know, if you want an anecdote about myself, like...
Love anecdotes.
Yeah, great. Here's an anecdote. You know, I, for a very long time, had a really big difficulty with the kind of like mental state or like oomph that came out in any kind of like really intense, not even like workout situation or like partnering situation. There's a very particular kind of mind state, which is not angry, but directed and slightly aggressive, you know, where I struggled. And what my emotional state would do in response is it would just kind of panic and outcry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I was really uncomfortable with that particular mental quality for whatever reason, you know, and it'd be easy to avoid and just be like, oh, I'm just not doing martial arts. They're not for me, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, that same mental quality, if I'm avoiding it if I'm uncomfortable with it in my body, I can't lie to myself and pretend like when I'm in my sitting practice, if that mental quality or that somatic feeling ever comes up, if I'm not training myself to be comfortable in it in the rest of my life, when it comes up, let's say in my sitting practice, I'm not going to have any easier of a time with it there, you know? And so I think once again with the body, the more you do with the body and the more different ways you can train it to express yourself and whatever, you know, the more knowledge it gives you about yourself, and it gives you a controlled setting. Like, okay, I will put myself in a controlled setting to become comfortable with this thing so that I'm comfortable with existing in this mental state and this mental state and this mental state and this mental state, to bring yourself to that place of neutrality and once again efficiency, where anything that comes up isn't a problem. So you're not leaking all of this chi and becoming inefficient with who you are. So that then, yes, if you want to bring it back to cultivation, it means that then when I'm, let's say, doing my sitting practice, and if I encounter any of these somatic, you know, expressions within my body, or I encounter any of these like thoughts or feelings that want to come up, I'm not immediately reacting and responding to them, right? I can be like, no, like, I've been here. I know this. It's just a neutral place for me.
Sure.
And then the process can continue unfolding versus like having this experience and all of a sudden, oh, I'm crying or I'm panicking or I'm thrown out of my sitting practice. I just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, the sitting practice is such a good, I think the great tests to see how much you're doing, how good you're doing with all the other practices are two: the sitting practice
and visit your family.
These are the two. I wrote it down on my New Year proposal, like whatever they call it, propositions. Resolutions. Thank you very much. One was like definitely like go and test everything with your parents. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything. Right? Like otherwise you've not won anything. And the other is sitting down. Like you sit, and all the things that you come up.
You got a full tour this morning.
Oh, this
my understanding.
So this morning we practiced this. How long did you sit? Like
an hour?
An hour, something like that. And
I
in
don't
an
know.
hour, I thought about all possible things. Right? Like they all came to mind, and I had all to food. I'm hungry. Release that. Like not the moment. Then I need to make a little more money. Not the moment. Don't think about it. Sex. I want to have sex. Definitely not the moment.
Definitely not the moment for that one.
Not in the class with other people. Not a good sex moment. They all came, and at some stage I even hit like.
I'm sorry. I have an incredibly childish mind.
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. That's true. And exactly. How do you know? Like that's exactly what I thought. I felt like, wow, I'm really not able to get in myself today. I'm not able to get in. Right. Why is it? And then subsequently, how can I train this summer over the break to go a little more in, to build the qualities there? So I went and did like a little training schedule for the summer until at some stage I said, I should not be doing this now.
This is not the time.
Release. Release. And then I started all over again.
Yeah.
Food. And I even reevaluated like a lot of Curb Your Enthusiasm that I was watching like this TV series.
You had a very productive sit.
You observed many aspects of your being.
But then the talk was about how to the talk that Gimo gave after the sit was about organizing your practice during the summer, and I said, way ahead of you, man. Like I was doing during the sit. What were you thinking about that? So it was great. Yeah. Oh my God.
I like what you were talking about, Anastasia, because it just, to me, speaks to the difference between maybe a casual practitioner and then a cultivator, right? Because cultivator, we're really engaged in this sort of no stone unturned, trying to put ourselves in all these different situations that life could arise in and become comfortable with them enough to have some equanimity.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really cool part about this practice is it's global.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think and this isn't what you were saying. It just kind of like pinged something in my brain. I think I personally have a little bit of trouble with the word like cultivator versus like casual practitioner, because for it sometimes can make people feel like one's better than the other. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's what you were saying. This is just something that I think about a lot.
Great.
Surprisingly, actually. Because it's one of those things like, yeah, sure, you can use these arts as a cultivation art, but it's like, but the art is still so beneficial to someone's like a casual, quote unquote, casual practitioner. You know what I mean? And so I always like in my head says, I've been trying to think of like, what else could I call people who maybe don't have the goal of like every stone unturned, but also see the utility and benefit of such a wonderful system.
Part-time.
What?
Part-time.
Part-time. Yeah. Part-time cultivators. Yeah, I don't know. This is not. I haven't found an answer to this question yet.
I think you guys are being like disrespectful to the word casual. I just think casual is cool.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it's my personal projections onto the word casual, actually.
Because we also we insist so much on how we have to be at ease and relaxed and chill like the phone.
That's true.
Casual.
You're right. See, you just unturned another stone for me, Giro.
So maybe identifying as a cultivator is another block we have to worry about, because it's not casual enough.
It's not cultivator. Work your ass off. If you get a cultivator, like a farmer cultivator, they probably stressed as fuck. Oh, it's not raining. Ah, fuck, I'm not gonna eat this winter. They're stressed. They're not chill enough. So cultivator I think it's not a good word.
I mean, for me, to be perfectly honest, I don't think of myself as a cultivator. It's just something that I do. I can't imagine doing anything else. But at the end of the day, I also do leave the space for the fact that who knows, there might be something else I end up doing. If it is a no stone unturned situation, one day I may unturn a stone that's oops, not what you're meant to be doing.
Right.
And who knows? And like you're saying, not getting too attached to the word cultivator is yes, can I imagine doing something else with my life now? Absolutely not. But also, if you had asked me 8 years ago what I imagined I'd be doing in 8 years, it would 100% not be this.
Yeah.
Right.
So hold it loosely.
Hold it loosely. It's just like anything in your body. It's like you're observing. You're setting up a set of causes, but then it's not up to you at the end of the day. It's just like I was saying at the beginning, yes, it's your body and you get to do it, and which can make it seem like you're in control of it all. But for me, the beautiful thing is you're not at the end of the day, which is one of those really silly things. It's stupid saying anything true is, what is it, a paradox or whatever. It's yes, you are fully in control of what happens to you, but at the end of the day also, I mean, at least for me right now, I'm not really.
Yeah, a lot of surrender.
A lot of surrender. Yeah. You can set up all of the right causes, and then the world's guess what? There's this huge other thing happening, and you're okay, fine, we're riding that wave. Cool. And I guess that's the beauty of it, is the more efficient you are with yourself, the more you can ride that wave. So it doesn't matter what the wave is, because the world unfolds as it unfolds, and we're just trying to ride that wave. And if we're inefficient with our bodies, with our minds, then we're just fighting it all the time. And I think, ride the wave of life. And I sound like a hippie. I never thought I'd use that phrase in my life. But
we're going to title this episode,
Ride the Wave of Life.
I also like the fact that you were thinking of becoming a goat herder.
Oh, 100%.
I think that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I wouldn't discard that as not a possibility.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's if for whatever reason, like I said, I unturned a stone one day and this is not the thing for me anymore. And it's I'm gonna go help raise a bunch of animals, help raise a bunch of, I don't know, unwanted
goats.
Children's, kids somewhere.
Goats.
Oh, okay. Goats.
Donkeys. Goats and donkeys.
Goats and donkeys. Somewhere.
Sure. Yeah. Probably in Italy.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Could be nice. It'd be great. Goats and donkeys.
So we're running a little low on time, but my sort of pragmatist side is still craving.
Please.
It's doesn't quite feel satisfied.
Please,
scratch that itch. So we talked about the beginning stages of building chi. Is actually not building chi, but plugging the leaks.
Yes.
Finding ways to make your body more efficient, more open, so that the natural production of chi can be more experienced, more utilized.
Mm-hmm.
But going to the next step.
Sure.
What kind of chi are we working with? What kind of chi is the cultivator working with? So the person who's working with these arts, how are they building it beyond? Gimo, you look like you have a question.
No, I just wanted to
Answer.
interject and say, like, do answer him, because, like, I know him. Like, if you don't answer straight to the question that he's asking specifically, he's gonna keep asking.
I'll probably keep
forever.
asking.
You probably keep asking.
Like, yeah, that's how he gets everything he wants from me anyway.
So we've got the beginning stage
Yes.
of cultivating chi, which is really more about efficiency,
Yes.
plugging the leaks, the ways we inefficiently interact with our chi. To then go the next step, to start to actually build more chi than is perhaps natural.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do then? How do we build that, and where does it come from?
Well, I think, unfortunately, your second question I will not be able to answer.
Yeah.
Where does it come from? That question is beyond me
Ah, got it.
at the moment. So unfortunately, you will need a deeper practitioner than I
Gimo.
to answer that question
Yeah.
at some point. But in terms of like, how do we build it? It's like, okay, first, at least as far as I understand it right now, right? You make the body as efficient as possible. You make yourself as efficient. So it's like what you're already creating, isn't just fucking off somewhere, right? So first we start there. And then from there, I think for me, it's a little bit used. I don't really care about the question of where something comes from or what something is, which is why even your initial question of what is chi was a little bit difficult for me, because I personally don't care what it is. I just know that it is, and I know what happens when I leak it, and I know what happens when I build it or when it's efficient. That's what's important to me, is what does it do is the important thing for me, more so than what it is. Where does it come from? Also for me personally, not important. You know, the same way like with psychological issues, I don't really I used to care why I feel a certain way or why I have a certain reaction. I don't really care anymore because it's not really useful for me changing the thing as it is now. So it's like, okay, I have this weird way that I react to certain situations, don't really care why it is, I just change it now. So I don't, at the moment, don't really care really where chi comes from. But how to build it, it's pay more attention. Pay more attention. It's like you have a very, very efficient thing right inside, and you have a system that manifests chi. Where it comes from isn't actually a useful question, because knowing where it comes from won't help you. Okay? It's like knowing where a wave comes from isn't going to help you ride it.
You like that metaphor.
You know? Well, I figure we're going to stick with the same metaphors. Right
wave
now,
of life,
I don't
like
want to
it.
give you too many. We have waves and we have carts with horses. I don't want to,
Like,
I'm trying to keep everything
love
within
it.
those. Oh, and we have a forest. I don't want to keep everything within those two metaphors, so that like I don't end up with, a dozen metaphors under my belt, along with all my hats. you know?
It's good. Like, hats and metaphors.
Hats and belts. So, so you have this, very efficient machine that first, like, you've made it as efficient as possible, and then you pay attention to it, okay? Because where you put your attention is what grows, and we also, this isn't, I feel like, a very esoteric concept, like, what do we do when we want to work on something? We pay attention to it. You know what I mean? What do we want to do when we don't want to deal with something? We ignore it. So what do you do to it's on a very basic level, what do you do to something that you want to help grow? You pay attention to it. Okay? So you've built this really efficient machine inside, and then you go inside, right? And which is a whole topic unto itself.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily mean, going inside the body, the same way, like, oh, I'm just thinking about my insides. It's for me, the way I think of it is more of like a depth layer, to myself. So I'm no longer paying attention to the things outside of myself, to the things that I am hearing or seeing or thinking, because that's also something, happening that I'm manifesting kind of outside of myself. Or no longer paying attention to whatever experiences I'm having in the body, because that's also something, once again, that's just a sense thing, still outside. I'm trying to pay attention to, in a way, try to pay attention to what is moving the trees. So up until I haven't experienced the chi, I've experienced the movement of the chi in my body. So now I'm trying to pay attention to the mechanism inside, to start to be able to pay attention and get a deeper experience of the chi within my system.
Through Purifying your attention?
Through purifying my attention, right? Because if you're trying to if you're trying to be attentive to something, just thinking about that quality, what does it mean when you are attentive to something? You grow still. You grow quiet. Like when I'm trying to listen, like if I go to listen to an orchestra play, if I'm paying attention to it, the rest of me goes silent. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not fidgeting with my phone. I'm not scratching myself, right? I'm fully just trying to be still and receive, right? And be attentive to the orchestra, right? So if I'm going inside, I'm trying to make still everything but what I want to be paying attention to. So everything else must grow still, or else all of those things are also getting my attention, which is also maybe fine, but not efficient. You know, like once again, not efficient. So yeah, how to build chi beyond that? Pay attention.
Yeah.
Right? And it's hard to pay attention if it's not efficient, right? Because if I have like a rickety cart, I'm going to be paying attention to all the things that are going wrong. If I'm riding in this cart, right, and it's really rickety, I'm going to be feeling the wobble. I'm going to be feeling all the things. You know, it's going to be really hard to pay attention because it's going to be being split to all of these different places, you know? So that's why first thing, just fix the body, you know, like make it so that your body's working efficiently, your mind is working more or less efficiently. You're not always reactive to things, you know, we were talking about, so that then you're not always paying attention to all those other things causing you discomfort, and then you can start to pay attention to something else. And when you start to give that thing your attention, that's what's going to grow, you know, as opposed to, you know, whatever else might be going on for you, because then the chi's going to go there. That's what's going to be fed. That's what's going to be getting more of your attention. Then that little feedback loop's going to be continuing.
Well, the positive feedback loop is that like if your chi starts growing, the thing you're giving attention starts growing, then it becomes more and more interesting.
Exactly.
And that's more interesting. It's easier to keep your attention on that as opposed to the other things and curb your enthusiasm.
Yeah, which is why like where does the chi come from? It doesn't really matter at that point. What is it doing for you? Do you know what I mean? How do you use it, so to speak, you know, as a bridge, as a way to keep unfolding, keep unturning these stones, you know, keep building more and being able to bring your attention more in. You know, it's like you build more chi, it shows you more of your fuck ups. You open the body more, you know, you make everything more efficient. That allows you to actually have more attention on the correct places, and then the chi can fill that, you know, and then, you build more chi because your attention's in the right place. When you build more chi, then all of a sudden it starts to get into more of the body, which shows you even more of your issues. Once again, you start that process over again. It's like that whole process, you know, that we teach at the very beginning stages of open the body, you know, build the chi, and then still the mind. It's just a continuous process because it just keeps happening on deeper and deeper and deeper layers. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if I fully answered your question, but I think I did it to the best of my ability.
There's no fully answer.
Because there isn't it, because your where chi question just for me just isn't relevant.
Well, let me play devil's advocate there.
Sure.
Because I think it is relevant, but more about understanding where it isn't from.
Well, that's a better question. That's a very different question. Asking me where it isn't from.
So then it was a trick question.
Oh, it's a trick. Asking me where it isn't from is a much more interesting question.
Would you like to speak to it?
Oh, I might. I'm much more interested by the question of where something isn't from. You know, it's not from your mind.
Okay.
Right, so it's actually not from any of the places that leak chi. Just it's kind of like you can use it by like power of deduction. I don't even know if that's the right use of that phrase, but it, you know, it's not from any of the places that leak chi, because just fundamentally, how can it be? How can it be from the place that uses it up?
Right.
You know?
So not your emotions.
Not your emotions.
Not your mind.
Not your mind, right? Which I think are two of the biggest places that I think that, two of the biggest places that I think a lot of people think chi comes from. Not necessarily comes from, but, you know, a lot of people feel fueled by their emotions. A lot of people feel fueled by their minds, and what I mean by that is like fueled by their mental constructs. Like they feel like it makes them stronger. They're fueled by that, you know. But that isn't. Even if it makes you feel stronger, even if it makes you feel more energized, it's not where your chi comes from.
Right. It's actually probably burning up.
It's burning it up. Yeah. It's 100% burning it up. And so it is another one of those paradoxes. Often the things that make you feel strongest are actually not the things that are making you stronger. You know, and so it's
I gotta put down my creatine. You mean?
I don't know. I have no. That is not my area of
purview?
expertise. Yeah. Not my area of expertise at all. But it's like, and this is something that I really love. Going back to your thing about like martial arts and all these things, like all these concepts that you're learning in martial arts, like kung fu and tai chi and Xinyi and all these things that we've been doing here in Bali, all the same concepts. For me, so far as I've experienced them, pertain to your mind. So like for like the kung fu and stuff, and you were saying you're not necessarily feeling your strength, you're feeling your own tension.
Right.
Like release it, and you're not going to feel it the same way, whilst also then it is making you stronger. So oftentimes that contraction makes you feel stronger, but it's weakening you.
Yeah.
Same thing with, it's the same concept, for me, with your mind, all the things that make you feel stronger are weakening you. They're wasting your chi because it's not flowing. You're constricting. You have a strict mental construct, right? Which means you're more reactive, which means it's like, that's not strong, and so like, and same thing with like Tai Chi, the ability to song. For me, like when I started Tai Chi, I started neigong before I started Tai Chi, and then when I started doing Tai Chi, to be perfectly honest, I was like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. It's a thing, it seems cool. And then the more I started doing it, I was like, wow, damn it, this is really cool. And it just really started to show me how the ability to song in Tai Chi, I was like, oh fuck, that's just the rest of my life. That's the rest of my practice. That pertains to all of that as well. The more that I can, like if you are tense in your Tai Chi form, you're not even like push hands, like when I'm going to say because it's my experience, my personal experience. It might not be anybody else's, but when I'm tight in the Tai Chi form, that's just me standing there with myself, which means if there's any tension in my body at that point, it's just me fucking tight with my own mind. Like that's it, because nothing else is happening.
Right.
So what? Right. One arm is slightly in front of my chest and my legs are a couple feet apart. There's no reason that should feel tense or that should feel tiring or that should feel painful, if not for the fact that for whatever reason my mind doesn't like that shape or I'm uncomfortable in that position. And so the more you start being able to song and form with yourself, the more all of those aspects of your personality and your mind also start to release, right? And the more that becomes a possibility for you within your sitting practice, within your life, and then not to mention, then, you start pushing hands and it's like, oh, fuck, I'm not comfortable with any of these ways of interacting with other people, which means any time that you encounter that in your life from others, you're still going to be tense about it, which means, once again, no equanimity, no neutrality, which means, those same things you're going to be non-equanimous or neutral within yourself when you're sitting, so it's like all of these parallels that you can't deny once you start practicing these arts. I don't even remember your question now.
The question is where does chi not come from?
Damn it, that question. Yeah.
So it doesn't come from your mind. It doesn't come from emotions.
Doesn't come from your emotions. Doesn't come from sex.
Doesn't come from sex. Doesn't come from nature.
Doesn't come from nature. Yeah. No, like you can harmonize with nature, but like for me, once again, so when I go out to the woods, do I feel more relaxed and energized? Yes, but once again, it's just because I'm more efficient. I'm not stressed, which means all of the energy I was leaking on being stressed, I'm no longer leaking, which means, I feel more energized, right? But it's not because I built anything. It doesn't come from there. It's just helped me regulate my own body so I'm not wasting.
Yeah, so you're like resonating.
So, yeah.
It's the nervous system of nature.
Also, maybe your respiratory system is having to struggle a little less with pollution and things like that. Like, it's nice.
Yeah, but once again, just efficiency.
Yeah, exactly. It's all efficiency. Yeah,
so I'm not getting chi from the environment. It's just helping me not waste my own.
What about the stars? Can you get chi from the stars?
Can you get chi from the stars? I personally have very little experience with the stars, so take what I have to say with a grain of salt, but I'm going to say no.
Other than stars.
I'm going to say no. But if somebody out there has had experience having chi from the stars, who knows?
It'd be really nice if there was a very specific, strange, random things you can get chi from that no one actually is aware of, but actually is great. It's a specific kind of cheese.
Cheese?
Yeah,
cheese?
I think if there was a cheese you could get chi from, I would have discovered it by now.
Right, like, then something more obscure. Like a specific place in the world, like a little town.
Well, I think,
in South.
So as I've been listening to Giro talk about cheese, I think... Back to your question for a second. Like, I can't answer it specifically because, once again, the specificities of that are beyond me. But, okay, so you're born.
Yeah.
Right? And there is a place from which, obviously, your chi comes from when you're born, or else you'd be dead. Like, right? It just let's just go off of that premise, right? Where that comes from, who knows? You know, I think listening inside long enough and deep enough, at some point, hopefully that answer can arise for people. You know, myself included. But let's just say at some point that happens, right? And when you're born, you have no idea where the fuck you are. I'm assuming I don't remember, right? But I'm assuming because of the fact that you have to learn, right? You have to learn all of these constructs of language and object permanence, you know, and the fact that we name our feelings, right? Like when you're young, all it is like, something's squeezing, something's weird in my face and water streaming down, right? And then you're told that's anger, that's sadness, that's whatever. You know, so you're learning all of these things. And all of these things then leak chi, right? All of your mental constructs, all of your emotions that you attach to, all of these things, right? So for me, it's like, where does chi come from? It's like, okay, well, find it out for yourself. Start going beyond all of the things that arrived after that fact. You know, start going beyond all of the mental constructs. Start trying to listen beyond all of your emotional reactions, right? Start trying to listen beyond, you know, all of the things that you've decided for yourself are true, you know, because if you, like, for me, if I take a look at anything, there was something before that. There was something deeper than that, you know, any idea, any emotion I could have, any thing that I thought of as true, right? There was a point at which I didn't have that, right? Which means I still had chi before that. I still existed before that. Okay, so go deeper. Do you know what I mean? And then there was a point at which I didn't know I had a name. You know, I didn't know did I still have chi? Yes. Was I still alive? Yes. Okay, so go deeper. Do you know what I mean? And so where does chi come from? I don't know, but I know it doesn't come from any of the things that I have learned since birth because I had it before then. You know? So, which is why
very good deductive.
Which is why I think it's like, go deeper. So anytime when you're sitting, you're like, this is it, and you're like, no, it's not, because there was a point before that. Okay, and there's a point before that, and there's a point before that.
And of course, this is not intellectual work that you're doing. Now you're describing it intellectually, of course.
I'm describing,
it sounds like a detective job.
No, it is. I'm not sitting there and thinking about it.
Sitting,
you know, but it's like, you know, so I think that for me, the question of where sometimes or what is difficult, because then as soon as I've had that idea, it's not true anymore, you know, which is why I almost hesitate to answer, because I don't want somebody listening being like, oh, that's the thing, you know, and then it's like, no, figure it out for yourself, you know, and keep doing. So the closest I can get to is, there's been a layer before, and there's been a layer before, and there's been a layer before. So can I make the layer I have as efficient as possible so it's not causing me any discomfort, so I can sung and release and go deeper? Then can I work with that and then deeper and deeper and deeper, you know? So it's hopefully at some point maybe experience, not even answering that question, but experiencing that, you know, because it's like, yeah, so it's you know, for me, it's not intellectual, but also intellectually understanding that anything I could intellectually understand would be wrong at this point, because the thing existed before any of that. Does that?
One of the many mind fucks that we meet every day.
Totally, you know.
Beautiful. Love it.
Sorry, I know that might be an unsatisfying answer.
Not at all.
I mean, it's a wonderful exploration.
You know, because for me, it's like almost an impossible question to answer. It's just a constant exploration. Yeah. You know, because if you get to any stopping point or any answer that's it, you're stuck, you're done. You know, it's like, so.
Yeah. I mean, I love that you took it there. I think where I was aiming was a lot lower, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't like doing anything by like half measures. I'd have trouble. I would have had trouble answering it any differently. Even that one was a struggle for me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you.
Even putting it into those words was a struggle for me. But
I appreciate you wrestling with it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what I was trying to accomplish was like
you're going to answer your own question.
Yeah, helping people understand like it doesn't come from the stars. It doesn't come from trees, and like just a little bit more of like a practical, like, okay,
Well, you
maybe I
should
need
have
to stop,
said that.
stop
Dan.
hunting
You
for
gave
it.
me such a big question.
Sorry.
No, it's
It was a beautiful answer. There's nothing wrong with your
Okay,
answer.
well here, how about this? Now I'm going to answer your question. Stop hunting in the stars. Stop hunting in the
stars.
trees.
Stop
Just
in the
going
trees.
back to the very beginning thing, it isn't esoteric. It isn't outsider of yourself. It is you and your body. It is within you. It is
Yep.
within your body. It is something that you're searching for within yourself. Just go deeper and deeper and deeper within yourself, and that's where it's going to be. You
or
know?
maybe one kind of
Or maybe one.
very exotic fruit
Yeah.
that we still haven't tasted. Possible if it's not cheese. I'm just
So
tossing it out there.
you could do it my way that I'm suggesting and just keep listening deeper and deeper and deeper inside. Or you can go out and try every possible exotic fruit, which could give you enlightenment or could kill you or could give you the shits.
Yeah. Or all of them.
Or all of them in an instant.
Yes, I know.
I actually think that's what most people experience during ayahuasca.
Ooh, that's an interesting topic.
That's a good
But I
note.
have-
to
for,
end
know
on.
for
nothing
another day,
about
children.
them.
For another day.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it is within yourself. Regardless of where within yourself, that's something I think to explore on your own. But yeah, it's not. And I think that's the beautiful thing. You don't need a specific kind of tree. You don't need a specific kind of leader. You don't need a specific even kind of exercise. You know, sometimes any of them will do. It's just how you do it. You know, the attention you give to it.
Right, so the
listening
how
you
is
give.
much more important.
How is the whole thing? For me, at least, how is the whole thing?
Yeah.
You know, it's like I was talking to somebody, an acupuncture client the other day, and we came to like a similar conversation, not exactly the same thing, you know. And I was just saying, like, it's not about the tool. Like, sure, some tools make things easier, but it's not about the tool. It's about, you know, like what you're building.
Mhm.
You know, it's like saying like, oh, I have this hammer and this saw. It's like, what have you done with it? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, yeah, so what are you building? What's the how? You know, it's like, how are you using this thing? What are you building with it? You know?
Right. And our lineage and tradition has tools that we use, and other lineages and traditions have theirs.
100%. Yeah.
And it's important not to sit there and polish the tools and just look at them and go like, oh, this is fantastic.
nice
I'm
hammer.
obsessed. Like, oh, you got a better hammer. Oh, wow, yeah, fantastic. Oh, hammer. Oh, and then not doing anything with them.
Yeah.
It's great.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it was so
Is
much fun.
there anything else? Any parting words? Does that feel like a good place to end on?
Oh man, yeah, sure.
Okay.
It feels like a great place to end on. Yeah.
Do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I've never watched Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Oh, I hear it. I hear him.
Ta-da. Because like Dan's dad looks
My dad is a huge fan.
He's a huge fan
Massive
and
fan.
looks like
Larry David.
Larry David.
Well,
a little
I
bit.
know what Larry David looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah,
A little bit.
so yeah. And I regret like one occasion I briefly saw his dad on while Dan was talking with him over Zoom. I forgot to say like I noticed on the spot, but I didn't say. Oh, it's true. You look like Larry David.
Definitely got the haircut.
Anyway,
Wonderful.
so this was a great episode.